I'm going to show you how to do this really funky effect on your Elementor website. As I scroll down, the images there and this text appears alongside. And as I scroll down, we get a sticky column and another image appears, and then we get some further text. And as you scroll down, we get another image and we get another load of text. And as I scroll back up, you can see it now reverses itself. And if I go all the way down, well, basically you move on to your next section. This is really easy to do, and we're going to do it right now. Something like this could be really useful if maybe you're trying to showcase like team members and you want their details to appear, or maybe different services you offer, but you almost want it to feel like it is just stuck on screen, so you're not just scrolling down, and it just happens in a much more animated and a nicer way. And don't worry, the code I'm going to give you will also sort this out for the mobile, because the danger with doing this on the mobile is you'll get 3 blocks of text and then 3 blocks of images below. But don't worry, the code will handle this. So let's go and have a look at it. To start off with, I have 2 empty containers over here and over here. This was just to show you how it doesn't have to be right at the top of the screen or right at the bottom. It can be anywhere on your website. But the important bit is that we have a parent container, and inside of there is where I have the left side and the right side. So I've decided that my left side is going to be my text or my headers or buttons. I mean, it could be whatever you want, okay? Because everything is done within subchild containers. And then on the right side, I was going to have my images. Now, I'm going to point out now that for the parent container, I didn't really do much with it. You know, you can style it, set the orientation, do what you want. Obviously, you're going to have your child containers side by side. Otherwise, the side-by-side effect won't really work very well. But what you do want to take into account is go over to the Advanced tab, and I've given this the class name of scroll-parent. And that's because later on, we are going to use this little bit of code, and I'm going to come back onto this later on. Copy of this code will be in the video description. So your parent container, if you're going to do a side-by-side, please make sure you're giving it the class name of scroll-parent. The reason you need to do that will become clear later on. Okay, it's not absolutely important, but I strongly recommend you do that. Then I've gone and dropped in my HTML script. Now, I'm going to show you that at the end. But first, let's build it out. So parent container, scroll-parent is the class name. And then inside of there, I added in a subchild or a child container, left side and right side. My left side is set to be 50% and my right side is set to be 50% as well. Both of them are set to be column direction because everything sits below. And you can mess around with your gaps, okay? How big you want your columns to be, how big you want your row gap to be, if you are going to have any particular extra margin or padding. I didn't, but I'm just letting you know you could do that. Before we go into the items that sit inside, and if you're still with me, this is really how easy this gets. The left side child container, if you go to the Advanced tab, the tab, I've called it left as the CSS class name. And the right side is going to be called right as the class name. So you got your parent, then you got your left, and you got your right, okay? Make sure you do that because the code needs to know what it is touching. Now, into the left side is where I then went and added in some further subchild containers. You do not need to add subchild containers. The only reason I did that is if I just show you each of my subchild containers had a heading, a text, and a button. Now, you can't see any of those items. And that's because I've already implemented or activated my code. So I am now just going to get rid of this code. And you can now see that my structure has returned. So I've got my text1 container, and that is this one over here. Then I've got my text2 container, which sits below. And then I've got my text3 container. And you can add different buttons, different text. Each one of these could contain completely different things. Like this could be like a Google map. This could be a contact form. So you could have different images flowing down the sides or whatever as you scroll up and down. So inside of the left container, which is a child of the parent, and remember the class name is left, I've got 3 further sub-child containers. Now, each one of these, you have to do a little bit extra. You have to go over to the Advanced tab. And again, look, if you style it out how you want, you know, if you want to have different widths or orientation, it's entirely up to you. The important bit is that each of these sub-children, you must give them an ID that is relevant towards their order. So text-1, and then I've given it the class name fade text. If we go to the second one and we go to the Advanced tab, it is text-2 fade text. The common feature or the class name is the fade text bit, okay? But the IDs have to be unique. So if we go to the third one, this one is called text free. So if you were just ever going to show text and there was no heading and there was no button, you don't have to do the subchild container. You could, if you want, just drop in 3 text editor widgets. Just make sure you follow what I'm doing here with the ID in the class. I'm just showing you that it is quite versatile in how you do it. So that's the left side, okay? So just take a note of the IDs, text 1, text 2, text 3, and then we got the classes which are all fade text. Then we move over onto the right-hand side. Remember, the right-hand side has the class name of right. If we go and expand on this, we now have 3 images. You go and drop your images in. You can have different sizes. You can mix and match it. You could put an animated GIF in. You could put a Lottie in. You could put a video in. Remember, these are just elements that sit inside of it. What is important, though, is that each of these images has the class name of scroll-section. All of them are scroll-section. There are no numbers. So you might go, well, we did text 1, text 2, text 3. What was the point of that? And how will it know what to show and when to show? Here's the really other important aspect. Scroll down to where you have attributes, and you will then enter in data-show pipe. The pipe button will be near your return button on your keyboard. Data-show pipe text 1. The second image would be text 2. The third image would be text 3. Does that make sense? Now, what if you are not showing images on the right-hand side? So let's now pretend that when we get to image number 2, I'm actually showing another child container that contains other text and other stuff. Well, all you got to do is make sure the class name of that is scroll section. Go down to attributes and make sure you've done data show text 2. I mean, look, if you don't want to use that naming convention, go and change it, all right? But I think it just kept it easy for me to understand in terms of text 1, text 2, text 3, and then text 1, text 2, text 3. The data show is really important. And then when you've done all of that, go and drop in a HTML script. I dropped it before the left and the right column. So if I just show you the structure over here, you can see it really simply. I just dropped it in and then I added in my code. Everything will disappear when you do that, but you can always bring it back, and also make sure you keep a copy of the code handy. But you can go and click the link in the video description and you can go and get the code for free for you to use and play with. And it basically works. But I do want to point out a couple of things that are very, very important. And if you don't implement these the way I have, it ain't going to look great from a user experience point of view. All of this code only works where the resolution is greater than or equal to 768, okay? The minimum width must be 768. Because if you try to look at this on a mobile, and I know some of you are going to say, yeah, but they could put the mobile in horizontal. A lot of people don't do that these days, all right? People just like to look at their phone in the portrait mode these days kind of thing. Or maybe they're looking at it on a tablet. They can get away with this. But when you are below 768, it ain't going to look great, all right? Because your text will now look ultra slim. And your image, you know, everything will distort a little bit. So this code, all of this HTML, only works where the minimum width is 768. But there's a bigger problem with the mobile. When you get to the mobile, because this is now no longer working. In fact, I can tell you now, even if it was working, you're going to get the exact same problem. You're going to get 3 blocks of text, followed by 3 blocks of images. Text, 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 image, image, image. User experience, that's awful. Because what if your text is quite long and it's text, 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 scroll, 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 and then you get 3 loads of images. And the images are now not aligned or connected to the relevant block of text. Don't worry, I've got your back on this. Remember the parent container? We added in a class name scroll-parent. We have this little bit of CSS code. What this does is flatten your child containers. So inside of that parent container, we have got 3 images and we have 3 sub-child containers, right? And we have a left and right as well. What this does, it touches the left and right, which is why it's important to make sure you give them class names, and it basically flattens them. When you flatten, you can now reorder them. Because if you try to reorder your images and your text, because they are in separate child containers, you wouldn't be able to reorder it. You can reorder the left all day long. You can reorder the right all day long. You know, the images when you get to mobile, but they are separate entities. this will flatten it. So when you do get to the mobile, you will now have the image, the text, the next image, the next text, the next image, and the final bit of text. You do have to do a little bit of work because once you've implemented that, you will then go to each of the text subchild containers and images, and you will now give them an order number. So if we go to this very top image over here, and it was this image here, because the text comes after it, go to the advanced tab, and we have order, and I've given it the number 1. This is just for the mobile. If I now go to the text, so I jump up, order number 2. Can you see the numbers? Let me just expand on the screen so it's easy for you to see there. Let's now go to the next image, and that will be order number 3. So we got image, text, image. I'm not going to go through all of them, but if we go to text 2, that is now order number 4. Okay, I'll do it. You go to the third image, that is going to be order number 5. And you go to the final bit of text, that's going to be order number 6. So when we then get onto the mobile, yes, you lose that funky animation that we had on the desktop and maybe some other devices that are greater than 768. But from a user experience point of view, this is so much better than having things that don't look quite right or look very slim or distorted because you're trying to squash everything into 50% and 50% of your screen. I mean, what do you think? You get this bit of a fading up effect. So look, let me just show you now. When the image hits about 50 VH, roughly somewhere about there, can you see it? The text appears. And now watch the bottom, okay? The bottom of it is going to be at the 55 VH. So the text is still there. And when we get to roughly there, that's now 55. Look, I'll bring it back. The text is in. 55, the text disappears. And then you scroll up because the top of the image has to hit 50. And now it appears and it stays there until we get to 55. And when the bottom image hits 50 VH, the other bit of text comes in. And as the image gets to about 55, it disappears before we've even hit the bottom. In fact, there is something I forgot to mention. Oh my God, this is so super bloody important. The sticky effect, right? Let me show you. How could I forget to do this? It's the kind of like the crux of how everything fits and works, right? The left side is sticky. The right side isn't. So I go to the left side. You don't have to do this on the parent, by the way. I've seen people make this mistake. You don't have to make the parent sticky or the right sticky. You go to the left side, you go to motion effects, and you say set it to be sticky. If you don't, it will look like that. So you go over and you make it top. Then what you do is go down and set it to say stay in column, and you put that as a yes. I've added in an offset of 150 because if I didn't do that, I didn't want the text, I didn't want everything to kind of go up all the way to the top. And you'll understand that. Go and do it as a 0 and view it. And then you'll realize actually I want to have a bit of a gap. So it sticks to a point. So if I now view this again, if I just show, I mean, you're not going to see it because you have to view it in preview. But can you see over there? That's a 150 gap. If I remove that, the text and everything would still be sticky, but it would go all the way to the top. So a bit of an offset can work really, really well. And when you do scroll backwards, the same thing kicks in. Where is the bottom? Where is the top? And then it follows the rule. So if you want to modify when it kicks in, because maybe your images are 100 VH, so you want the text to appear quicker than that or whatever, go and mess around with the values to make it work for you. Hey, I'm Imran from Web Squadron. I hope you like, subscribe, share, and follow. And I hope you dig this because I'm digging it. See you soon. Bye.